Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. We begin our Islam study circle. This is Surah Al Imran, verses 190 to 191, and I have given them the title of Remembering God. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. Surely in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and in the alternation of night and day, there are signs for men of insight. Those who keep God in remembrance while standing, sitting, and lying down, and reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth. They pray, Lord, you have not created this world without a purpose. Glory be to you, so protect us from the punishment of the fire. Well, these verses, as you can clearly see, present to a believer how he has to connect with God and how he can connect with God. And of course, the most prominent cause of this is that you reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth. You find out that they are created with a purpose. You find out that the way the night and day come at a particular time, the night is conducive to our sleep, the day is conducive to our daily activities. All this shows that there is some purpose to this creation. And as a result, because of the fact that God has created us in a way that we are able to reap the benefits of His creation, of the things that He has created for us, including the heavens and the earth and the sun and the moon and the stars, everything, this leads us to believe that we are created with a purpose. It's not a purposeless life that we should lead. And this induces us, or should induce us, to remember God. And when we say remembering God, it does not mean just merely remembering His name or repeating His name again and again. It actually refers to remembering Him at various instances by saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Astaghfirullah, A'udhu Billah, Alhamdulillah. All these are basically expressions which connect us to God, which spontaneously come out of us when we view something which benefits us, or which is something that really inspires us. So the verse says, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ, that believers who reflect on the creation of the heavens and the earth, and who create on the alternation of the day and night, they actually remember God while standing, while sitting, while lying down on their backs, telling us that whatever their situation is, in whatever situation they are always thinking that there is a purpose in life, and they have to keep God in remembrance for that. And again, as the verse says, وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ. Remember, it started off with خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ, and it is about to end by saying that they are ones who actually reflect, who actually deliberate on the creation of the heavens and the earth. And when they do so, as I said earlier on, they immediately reach this conclusion that all this could not have been created without a purpose. مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. Lord, you have not created this without a purpose. So glory be to you. There is a purpose, and that purpose is that you will one day bring all of us to account, reward those who are righteous, and of course punish those who are sinners. All this is suppressed. And Subhanaka faqina azab an-nar is actually a comment on what I've just said, that you will reward all this, the people who are righteous, and forgive and punish the sinners. Subhanaka faqina azab an-nar. God, glory be to you. Please protect us from this punishment of hellfire. So you see, it's a beautiful combination of expression and suppression. What is revealed in these verses is so inspiring. It really drives us to a point that we like to connect to God and reach this conclusion spontaneously, that all this what God has created cannot be without an objective. It cannot be without a purpose. And the purpose is that we shall one day be held accountable. The way these heavens and earth are made, the way we are being provided by the Almighty, the way everything is working, and of course our own inner conscience, which tells us that the result of right should be right and wrong should be wrong, but this does not happen. So this points us to the fact that if our Creator is someone who has a purpose, and we also see a certain lack of congruity of results in this world, then there has to be another world which will come into being, and in that existence, the Almighty will reward us, He will take us to account. And we have to understand that this is one of the biggest challenges that we as human beings face. We keep forgetting the day of accountability. We keep forgetting that there is a time that we shall be held accountable for each and every deed that we do. It's such an obvious reality. It's such a reality about which there cannot be two opinions. But the more obvious it is, the more we forget. We tend to forget it. We forget it every day, every instant. When we are doing something which is not right, we are actually forgetting our accountability. So remember what the Quran is all about. It is called zikra. It is a reminder. It is called zikr, which is a reminder of the fact that there is a God, and one day He is going to take us to account and make us reach our destination in accordance to our deeds. So we now move on to the next part of our study circle. This is the hadith of the day, and another beautiful hadith taken from the Sahih of Imam Muslim. It says, it has been reported by Abdullah bin Amr, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن من خياركم أحاسنكم أخلاقا. So Abdullah ibn Amr reported that God's messenger said, the best among you are those who are morally sound than others. And I think this is a narrative that we need to keep on revising, keep on discussing, keep on bringing in our various discussions how important this is and how we actually ignore it and flout it. The Prophet himself, an embodiment of high morality and high moral conduct, is reported to have said that the best among you are those who are morally sound, who have this character, who have this conduct which is really enviable. And it needs this to say that the way and the extent of our own personalities, the way they should be conducted, a lot of this has to do how we behave not only with the Almighty, which is of course another thing, and we know that that shirk or polytheism is an act of immorality. We see at the same time that we have to deal with our fellow relations in this world. It may be our spouses, it may be our children, it may be our parents, it could be our colleagues, friends, those who are with us at our workplaces, even our neighbors, even people who we interact sparingly. All of these people are going to bear witness to how we behave with them. And our biggest test is that we have to behave with them in a way in which, when we pass away from this world, they still remember us. They still think that this was a person who cared about us. This was a person who might not have had many means in life, but his words, his personality, his countenance was such that people would be happy to see him, happy to meet him, happy to discuss their problems with him. So, ahasinakum akhlaqat, you are the best of those among you are those who are best in conduct and morality. And again, this is a lost lesson of our ummah, of our Muslims, because of the fact that we have become so ritualistic. We give so much stress to rituals that we have forgotten that rituals themselves are not an end in themselves. They are a means to an end. And a means to an end, of course, means that through these rituals, we have to become better individuals. We have to become people who have compassion, kindness, sympathy, selflessness, humility, care, and of course, regard for others, respect for others, and always think that besides our own selves, we have so many other people around us that we have to care about. Our own humility and our own inner personality is shown the way we carry ourselves, the way we speak, the way we conduct ourselves. And I think that this is some target that we must set ourselves. I often discuss this, that all of us are people who would like to become high achievers in life, in our professional fields, and I think that there should be another field as well in which we should all try to become high achievers, and this is the moral field, the field of our own. We are people who must understand that rituals are not something which are going to be the means to deliver us in the hereafter. Rituals are a means to an end, and that end is to become lofty individuals, to become high individuals. So our prayer, our fasting, our charity, our Hajj, our Umrah, they have an objective, and that is that they provide us with this inner purification, this self-purification. And if they are not doing so, then something is wrong, and we are not understanding that these rituals have a purpose in life. So therefore, I would strongly urge all of us, including my own self, that we have to pay attention to these moral directives, and these moral directives are more or less something which are already, the urge to do them in the right way is already found in us. We only need to pay attention and pay heed to them. And as we do often discuss that one of the ways to become a morally strong person is to have a strong God connection. People who are morally strong, they are ones who have strong faith, a strong God connection. They don't care about anyone else as long as they are doing well in as far as the Almighty is concerned and as far as His creation is concerned. We now go to the third part of our study circle, and this is the Bible verse of the day. It has been taken from the book of Proverbs, which is, of course, ascribed to the Prophet Solomon, who was the son of Prophet David. So it says, "And keep watch over your heart with all care, so you will have life." So it's again something very profound, and as you can see, the book of Proverbs is in fact a book which speaks to us in the form of maxims and in the form of proverbs, which are one-liners or two-liners, and which provide us with very, very important guidance in life. And here it is that we find the Prophet Solomon reported to have said that keep watch over your heart with all care, so that you will have life. Now, each and every word is so profound and it's so apt that we need to reflect that we have to keep watch over our heart, which again means that the heart is the seat of all kinds of thoughts. We get all sorts of stray thoughts, all sorts of lurings, all sorts of whisperings from Satan, and it is here that we have to guard those thoughts, that they should not. Of course, we cannot stop those thoughts from coming, because our own inner soul produces those thoughts. It is Satan who produces those thoughts, but we must not be lured away by these thoughts. So there is this very beautiful dua and invocation of the Prophet, "A'udhu bika min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina," which means that please protect us. "A'udhu bika min shururi anfusina." Oh God, I seek refuge with you from these evil thoughts that I may have, from these evil inclinations that I may have. And of course, if we do our needful, if we watch over our hearts, if we are people who really care about our hearts and we are not carried away by these evil thoughts, then remember, it is the Almighty. He is going to help you a lot. We have to do our share, and the Almighty is then going to really protect us. But we just cannot say anything, or we cannot do anything in this regard unless we make this effort. So the effort has to be ours, and then we will become worthy of the Almighty's help as well. Remember what happened to the Prophet Joseph when he was in a position that he could have been lured away. The Quran says, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْ رَأَى بُرْهَانَ رَبِّي, that lady had made her best, or had tried her best to lure Joseph away, and he had almost succeeded. But for the fact that Joseph himself was helped by the Almighty, because in his other life he protected himself, and when that crisis time came, the Almighty specially helped him. So if we protect ourselves and our heart in these areas and in normal circumstances, so we actually become worthy of God's help when the crunch time arises, when we are lured away, and maybe when we are thrown with a big challenge in this regard, we are really helped by the Almighty. So we have to guard our heart. We have to be, as far as possible, engage ourselves in positive activities, in constructive activities, because that is the only antidote to such evil and luring thoughts. As long as we stay involved in the higher and noble activities of life, in the high ideals of life, there is a very big chance that we'll not be led away by these evil desires. And remember what the verse ends with. It says, "So you will have life," which means that if you guard your heart from evil desires, you will have that real life to live in. You will enjoy the spiritual life. You will enjoy that inner comfort and inner satisfaction. And of course, this is something of an experience that I'm sure all of us do have whenever we are able to conquer our evil thoughts, and whenever there is an instance that we can be lured away, but we really forcibly stop ourselves, we get that feeling of fulfillment. And this is what actually means that we feel as if we are living beings who have really done something, and by the grace of God also achieved something. So the last part of our study circle, of course, is a discussion topic, and this time it is, let us count our blessings. And as we can see and of course discuss, and we have been discussing this, that counting our blessings is something that should come naturally to us. The amount of favors that the Almighty has blessed us with, starting off with a normal human body, eyes and ears and legs to walk on, and our hands to feel people, and even our taste. Only a few days ago, when someone was mentioning to me that one of his friends had lost his taste buds because of some disease, and to him, whether he would eat anything in the world, it would have absolutely no consequence, because he had lost his taste buds. And he realized what a big loss that was, because he could not enjoy food. It was virtually like eating anything. He could have eaten grass, and he could have eaten the best cooked food. It would have been the same for him. So you see, these are small things that count. People who are insomniacs, ask the value of sleep from them. We tend to fall asleep as soon as we hit the bed, or maybe after a little struggle. But look at people who are chronic insomniacs. They cannot sleep at night. And there are so many diseases that people suffer from. They are fatal diseases. They cripple them. They are handicapped, and the list is unending. So I think that one of the biggest antidotes to depression and to a low feeling, and to the fact that at times we do feel as if we have been let down, the best antidote to this is to always think of what we have, instead of thinking what we don't have. And what we have will easily outnumber what we don't have. And for this, we have to continuously remind ourselves, whenever we are walking in a street, whenever we are sitting in a car and driving through a highway or a road, let us look at people around us. Look at the shops around us, which are at times full of merchandise, and you don't find many people entering those shops, and you can see the worried faces of the owner sitting there, that there is no one to come and shop from what they are selling. And then look at people who are pedestrians. Look at people who are walking in the sun, or walking in the rain, or walking in intense cold. They are shelterless people on the roads. There are people who are living in shanties. There are people who are living in a way that is so heart-rending that one feels the discomfort. When one is lying in one's bed in a quilt, one often thinks of people who are on the street in severe cold, and how they would be managing themselves. So you see, it's just a question of tuning ourselves. It's just a question of making this effort to think about what we have, and continuously remind ourselves what we have. That really makes us a grateful person, it really makes us a person who is always thinking about others, because of the fact that we are blessed with so many things that we would like to share those things with other people. And we have to continuously thank God, of course. And the best way to thank God is to try to do what He wants us to do, including fulfilling His rights and fulfilling the rights of His creation, because this is how we have to go about in life. This is how we have to understand that as people who are grateful for what they have. Look what the Quran says, La in shakartum la azidannakum, that if you express gratitude, God will give us more. He will give you more, because the key to more is this sense of gratitude, this expression of gratitude that we must have. And with these words, I come to an end to this study circle. And if there are questions, I'm going to open your mic. Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Mr. Qazi.
Bible verse you quoted,
Mm-hmm.
a Quranic verse as well related.
Right.
What is the reference for that and this surah?
This is Surah Al-Imran and verses 190 and 191, the third surah.
The refuge from evil.
Yeah. So it's basically remembering God, and it's taking us to this voyage in which we reflect on our surroundings, and we think that this world could not have been created without a purpose, and the purpose of creating this world is that all of us shall one day be brought to account, and therefore we are always mindful of what we do and remind ourselves that we must not do something which is against our own conscience.
Sure. Regarding the verse, the first verse, the Quranic verse, I want to know, do we have any Al-Mawrid publication which speaks about challenging or discussing or analyzing the theory of evolution or Darwinism?
I think we have one, and probably it is yet to be published. However, it was published in parts in our English journal Renaissance by Dr. Junaid Hassan. If you just search his name, maybe at the Al-Mawrid website or the Renaissance website, you'll find out that he has written an article on the theory of evolution, the way we understand it.
Great. Thirdly, I was actually really excited to hear about the project that you worked on, History of Quran,
Mm-hmm.
and I was wondering if maybe you can share some overview background in these classes.
Mm-hmm.
Possible?
Yeah, actually, I recently gave a short interview or a talk as well on this to introduce my work, and basically it was about 2 decades ago in the November of 1999 when I was called upon to teach graduate classes on the history of the Quran and the Quranic text, that I first came to realize the problems and the questions which arise if we teach this subject. And it was then that I started off on my own quest to find out the answers to some of the very problematic questions, like, for example, the existence of multiple Qurans and the existence of variant readings, the existence of narratives which tell us that the Quran we have today is incomplete, and then the fact that we have scribal errors in the Quran, and the fact that we have companion codices which have a different surah order. So there's a host of questions which we are faced with whenever we try to study this historical background of the Quran. So it was in this backdrop that I came across with Ustaz Hamiduddin Farahi's research on the collection of the Quran and the way he has presented that how the Quran itself speaks of its own history. So that was something which was very inspiring for me, and it actually inspired me to write it out in detail, because the way he had expressed this history was virtually a very, very a brief, not only a brief, but a very, very pithy and a very comprehensive answer to a lot of questions that had arisen, which I have just alluded to. So it was his research that I tried to present, and of course, at the same time, uh, presented with more detail and with more examples. And also, what I did was that I used the principles of historical criticism and hadith criticism once again to apply them on the narratives which tell us regarding the collection and transmission history of the Quran. And I came up to different conclusions regarding those narratives. And finally, also, with the guidance of my teacher, Ustaz Ghamidi, was tried to demonstrate the issue of the variant readings and the issue of multiple Qurans in our Ummah, that how it can be explained and how we, of course, we do not deny it, but we reinterpret it or we give it a new explanation, and it seems to be a very sound explanation. So this is just a very brief introduction to an effort which almost spans 2 decades. I have given talks on it on various occasions, which are available on YouTube, and of course, the book has just been published recently. It is now is available in Pakistan and soon, inshallah, outside Pakistan also. So you can have a critical.
Sure. Definitely, I will be looking forward to the book. Just one question, which was, I actually watched the interview as well, where you summarized, and it is quite intriguing. If I understood correctly, you concluded that whatever the copies that are available
Mm-hmm.
of Quran in the Muslim world, the, which was compiled by during Caliph Usman, and so whatever the copies which are accessible to Muslims are third or fourth copies, not the original
Mm-hmm.
copies.
Right. So the.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So you see, it has been claimed by Muslims that the Tashkent copy and the Topkapi copy are the ones which are the Osmanic copies, but dating of these copies and the examination of the script, because you see, the script itself had evolved, and we know that the script belonged to certain eras. For example, the Kufic script came after the Hijazi script, and these Qurans are basically in the Kufic script, which are placed in these museums, and they are easily second century or third century replicas of course, what the original Quran would have been like in writing. But they are certainly not the Qurans which were prepared in the times of Usman, because it's very easy to scientifically prove this, and the claim is not correct. This dating has been done by Western scholars, obviously, and even our Muslim scholars who know the science of script, which is called the orthography of the Quran. Orthography basically is how you write a particular set of verses, or even the whole Quran, and it gives it a certain slant when you write in Hijazi style, and when you write in the Kufic style, the style is again different. So the style of writing itself becomes a basis of judging the period in which it was written.
So basically, this claim, isn't this like a revolutionary claim? It's like a big fact on the table with most of the
Well,
people.
it could be new knowledge to some people, but in the academic circles, this is something which has been well known. And if you remain in touch with debates and discussions on this topic, this is nothing new. It's maybe not that common a knowledge, and people might not be knowing this very much. But as I said, as far as academic circles are concerned, they know that this was never the case, and the claim was always a claim, and it was an unsubstantiated claim.
Sure, that's fine. Interesting, very interesting actually. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Rafia Khwaja, please go ahead. Okay, I don't think that she's here. So, thank you very much.
Hey, Dr. Shehzad, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Shehzad, Shehzad, I have a few questions.
Mm-hmm.
Number one question is that I heard of a hadith which says that if you say your four sunnah prayers
Mm-hmm.
before Isha namaz,
Mm-hmm.
it is like praying all night. That's my first question, and I can ask you the second one. Um, I also know that there are some hukuk al-abad, and
Mm-hmm.
that is Allah, the responsibilities, the hukuk of Allah, and there's also bando ke hukuk. Now, Allah ke hukuk, I know that if you ask Toba and you ask forgiveness, you can be forgiven. But what about the bando ke hukuk? If somebody has done me injustice and does not ask me forgiveness or and dies, what will happen? So आप अगर ये दो अगर सवाल जवाब दे दें, then I have two more if you don't mind.
So, as far as the first question is concerned, I would need to look up the narrative because what I have read is the same thing regarding the Tahajjud prayer or the night prayer, but I haven't come across a narrative which says that if you read the four rakats of the Sunnah, which is before the first prayer, then it'll be as if you were praying all night. I'll need to check this out. So, if you can send me the reference, I can get back to you. And as far as your second question is concerned, uh, actually, we need to understand that forgiveness regarding all those excesses which have been committed against us by individuals will only be forgiven by the Almighty if we forgive that person. The Almighty will forgive sins that we commit against Him. For example, if we have any shortcoming regarding remembering Him, regarding not praying on time, not fasting, and some of the other acts which relate specifically to Him. But as far as wrongs done with other people are concerned, on the day of judgment, they will only be forgiven if that person forgives us. So that is a given, and of course, that will be our take with that person, our deal against him. And if we think that we would like to forgive him or her, or there is something that would induce us to do so, it's entirely our prerogative and choice.
But if the person has done me injustice, and should I really forgive the person or should I let Allah punish the person
You
or
see,
Allah
that's
judge?
your choice. When a person asks for forgiveness, so you always think that if the person is really ashamed of what he or she had done, and you also think that now that you are past this world, now you're standing before the Almighty, forgiving others might also earn you more reward from the Almighty. So all these things are your own choice. But if you choose not to do so for any reason that you may have, it is again your choice. So I think it's something that you should leave to your own self at the time when it comes, and see how the other person behaves.
I see. Okay. My third question is that some people take their children and they do a manat and they press their heads and they go.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Dolisha Kachua, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and they say that if we give the child to this mazar, our
Mm-hmm.
manat will be accepted. What my question is, does their manat get accepted? If Allah doesn't give them what they want, then they wouldn't continue to do this.
So you
So,
see that
is
when you do something wrong to human beings, of course, when you press their heads and you make them into deformed individuals, you have no right to do so. You're committing a big oppression. It's a very unkind act to do something, even to your own self, let alone to other people. It's like showing mistrust in the scheme of God. It's like distorting the scheme of God. And we have absolutely no right to tamper with the physical appearance, and that too in such a bad way. And this is a very, very unfounded, a very, very pathetic thing that we do, and it must be put an end to, it must be stopped. And we must remind ourselves that we have absolutely no right to do so. No right has been given to us on the physique of other people to change it or to alter it, and to think that if we do so, then the Almighty will grant us certain wishes. This is something which is going on unchecked in many rural areas of third world Muslim countries, especially the Indian subcontinent. And I think it should be put a stop to at the state level, and the state should interfere, because this is a question of basic human rights. This is a basic human right that you cannot temper, you cannot in any way do what you are doing, and it is simply uncalled for. It's a huge and a grave violation of human rights. And if you ask
Dr.
that, why is
Shehzad,
it?
they give the child there, and then they ask the saint that you give us what we want. Isn't that wrong? Because you cannot
So you
ask
see
anything
that is a further wrong.
right.
I mean, you started off with wrong by distorting the physique of a person, of a boy or a girl, and then the other wrong thing that you did was committing polytheism by asking that saint or that revered personality to grant your wish, which of course no one else than God can do. So that's another grave act of impropriety that was done. So I think it's like saying that it's following one bad thing with another bad thing, and it has absolutely no basis in religion. It's more of a cultural practice in the Indian subcontinent, and people don't realize that this cultural practice is a huge act of oppression and injustice to an individual. And imagine that if someone does it to yourself, and when you grow up and you find out what you have been, the way you have been dealt with, how angry you would be and how you would feel. So I think it's introspection that should lead us to this. And of course, if we have regular knowledge and a regular touch with the Quran, we would never do such a thing. And it's just basically something which is a cultural oppression that is going on unchecked, especially at these mausoleums and these mazars, and it has to be put an end to.
But do they get what they want? Does their prayer
So,
is
so you
it
see, what
accepted?
happens is that at times, because of trial, because of the fact that the Almighty, when a person goes astray and takes this basic wrong step, so at times the Almighty makes that person succeed in that wrong step. It is like punishing that person in this world, and of course, compensation will be given to the person who was oppressed. So, a lot of bad things that we do, and not only just the one that you have mentioned, at times they produce good results, and this is a means of the Almighty testing us and giving us this respite in which we increase in our sin, and then the Almighty catches us. So, if you know, this is the law of imhal, which is mentioned in the Quran, the law of respite, in which when a person does bad things and continues to do them, then the Almighty gives him more opportunity to do those things even more wrongly by producing favorable results. And this then actually is something which makes that person go even deeper into that sin, and then he is caught one day by the Almighty. So that is an entirely different rule. That bad things at times which are done by people produce good results, so that at times they are given this chance to do these bad things even more, and this is an act of punishment from God actually.
So, Dr. Shehzad, the last thing is when I asked you about Google for the Abad and for the people. Now, for example, I give my personal, I would like your opinion. Like, my mother died, and I felt that my brother did not treat her well and did not look after her well, and I wasn't there with her. So, I have
Hmm.
never been able to forgive him. But then he has died. So,
Hmm.
I was just wondering whether I should forgive him and ask Allah to forgive him. But that's why I said to you that would my brother ask my mother's forgiveness, my forgiveness? How would Allah treat us as far as this type of thing is concerned? Now, what would He expect from
Hmm.
me? Would it be better for me to forgive it and then
Yes.
ask God to forgive my sins?
So you see, the wrong that he basically committed was against one of his parents, the mother. So in this case, it will be the mother who would be standing there, and if it would be she who would have this prerogative to forgive him or not to forgive him, because basically, as you have just said, that he had mistreated her and did not look after her well. And of course, this is something of a basic responsibility which every child has and every son has. And if he did not fulfill his responsibility, then he shall be held responsible before his mother on that day and to God as well. And I think the mother will be the primary person who, if she forgives, then perhaps I would say that you too can forgive, because as his sibling, as his sister, you too would feel the brunt and the bad effects of that. But I think that if your mother forgives him, then perhaps you too could think of the same thing. But primarily, it is she who would be pitted against him.
So right now, I can't feel like praying for him or forgiving him.
Just
But
just
when
do what your,
I when
yeah. So just do what your gut feeling tells you. But remember that what the Almighty has said, that it's okay if you have that feeling of anger for such a person. But if you forgive such a person, and that too, if that person is worthy of forgiving, then of course it'll be something which really tells nicely on you. So it's an entirely your choice. It's your prerogative. If you don't feel like praying for him, it's up to you. But the advice is that every person has wrongs that he or she does, and we still are weak people. At times, we do even graver things. You have seen how children not only mistreat their parents, but there are so many examples in which, and of course, it's a hugely bad thing that they end up killing with their parents, they end up abusing their parents, they end up doing all sorts of unwarranted things. And we see so often that even then their parents forgive them in this world. So I think it's a question of your own attitude. And if you think that there is this chance that you could forgive that person or pray for him, leave it to your own self. And if you don't feel like, again, you have this prerogative.
yeah, I think I'm so hurt that right now I
Probably
can't.
it's
So
just a
thank you so much
question
for
of time,
explaining it.
right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much. So inshallah we'll meet again next week at the same time. Until then, it's Khuda Hafiz.